Good morning, dear friends. Today we are going to start with a very important region of anatomy that is called as head, neck and brain. You have two papers in anatomy, that is paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1, maximum syllabus is from head, neck and brain, and make sure that one of the long question is definitely asked from head, neck and brain. So this is a very important region which we are going to start from today. I hope you are clear with the different normas of a skull. Keeping in mind that you are clear with those normas, I am going to use the knowledge of skull here also. Now in head and neck there is ample of theory. Definitely you should know all of the theory, but the most important part here is that you should know everything, but you should be very clear that on the paper what question is being asked and what important points you're supposed to write. So in today's class, I would definitely like to make this topic easy for you so that you are able to understand, and in between I am going to tell you the specific points which should be there in your answer so that you can score more marks. With this short introduction, I am going to start with the first lecture of head, neck and brain. So dear friends, today's topic is scalp. The competency which is given by MCI is describe the layers of a scalp, its blood supply, its nerve supply and surgical importance. So this competency is very important. It is asked as it is in a long question. This is a long question which has been given in a way of competency. So at the end of this lecture you should be very clear with the layers of a scalp in this lecture part 1, and in part 2 I am going to cover blood supply, nerve supply and applied importance. Next competency is describe emissary vein with its role in spread of infection from extracranial root to intracranial venous sinuses. So you should know the second competency also. So what we have already discussed, that at the end of this session you should be able to describe and draw a Welch label diagram of layers of a scalp with its blood supply, its nerve supply and surgical importance. So here we are going to start with our class. What are you able to assess with this picture? If somebody is going to give a punch to you and that too on your eye, what is the result? What do we expect? Definitely this is the result of this. So what we are able to see is black eye. Now in this class we will know the logical reason, or we will know the applied anatomy of a scalp, that why this black eye occurs. But yes, definitely this is the applied anatomy of scalp. Next, you can see this bulging on one side of the head of a neonate. This is called as cephal hematoma. Again a neonate, you can see a cap-like bulging. This is called as caput succedaneum. So these are all the applied part of a scalp Once you know the gross anatomy of a scalp, you will be able to understand the logical reasons of all these things very easily. So here we are going to start with scalp. The definition of a scalp is, it is a soft tissue which is covering the vault of the skull. It is a soft tissue which is covering the vault of the skull, vault or calvaria. This upper portion, this is called as vault or calvaria. Extent. This grey color area, this is called as scalp. Interiorly, supraorbital margins. Posteriorly, in the occipital region, you have seen superior nuchal lines. So anteriorly, supraorbital margins. Somewhere in some books it is written supraciliary arches, and posteriorly superior nuchal lines. Laterally, norma lateralis, you have superior temporal lines. Fine. Few books are also saying that this extends till zygomatic arch. But in our textbooks, most of the textbooks, it is written superior temporal lines. So this is the extent of scalp. This is the extent of scalp. So scalp is nothing but a soft tissue covering the vault of the skull. Okay. So this is the vault of a skull. Fine. This is norma frontalis. Here you can see supraorbital margins. These are supraorbital margins. Right? These are supraorbital margins. This is the extent. Okay, but it is not attached here. Okay, anteriorly it is attached to the skin, not to this supraorbital margins, but the extent is till here, anterior. Now this is the posterior part of the skull, norma occipitalis. The most prominent point, this one is external occipital protuberance. This is external occipital protuberance, and here we can see nuchal lines, superior nuchal lines. So anteriorly supraorbital margins or supraciliary arches, posteriorly external occipital protuberance and superior nuchal lines. These are superior nuchal lines. Again in the skull, this is external occipital protuberance. These are superior nuchal lines. Okay. Here anteriorly supraorbital margins. Supraorbital margins. Norma lateralis, we can see temporal lines. This is superior temporal line. Also, few books say that it extends till zygomatic arch, but in maximum of the textbook it is written superior temporal lines. So this we have seen anteriorly up to the eyebrows. Eyebrows means superciliary arches or supraorbital margins. Posteriorly we have seen till superior nuchal lines, and laterally it is up to the superior temporal line. So there should be definition in your answer that skull is nothing but it is a soft tissue which is covering the vault, okay, which is covering the cranial vault. Then second heading should be extent, from where to where this scalp extent. And then comes the most important heading, that is layers. There are 5 layers of scalp. This 5 number is very magical. When we are studying scalp, this 5 number is very magical. Okay, we are going to see 5 layers. We are going to see 5 blood vessels. We are going to see 5 nerves, and definitely we are going to see 5 applied. So this 5 number is very magical. From superficial to deep, the first layer is skin. Then you have connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar tissue, and pericranium. Okay, below that comes the bone or skull. Now a scalp, S-C-A-L-P. Okay, S, the first one, the first letter, is depicting skin. C, connective tissue. A, aponeurosis. L, loose areolar tissue. And last but not least, P is pericranium. Fine. So these are the 5 layers of a scalp from superficial to deep. Now this is the corona section which we have taken of a scalp. This is the skin. Fine. This is the skin. Then the second layer. This is superficial fascia. This one is superficial fascia. This one is the deep fascia, which is also called as epicranial aponeurosis. And then L stands for loose areolar tissue. Last but not least, periosteum or pericranium. Then you have skull bone. Okay, then you have skull bone. Then meninges, the outermost layer, that is called as dura mater. This is the fold of dura mater. This is the fold of dura mater. And below it we are able to see brain. This is nothing but superior sagittal sinus. This is superior sagittal sinus. So these are the layers, 5 layers of a scalp, which we are going to discuss in detail from outside to inside, from superficial to deep. Fine. So first layer is skin, the outermost layer which you are able to see. Next layer is connective tissue, or we can also call it as superficial fascia. Then for A, it is aponeurosis. Okay, this aponeurosis is a combination of 2 structures. That is, there is a muscle that is called as occipitofrontalis muscle, along with it aponeurosis. Then for L, loose areolar tissue. And 5th is pericranium. 5th is pericranium. So you should know skin, connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar tissue, and pericranium. Fine. Now we are going to discuss all these layers individually. The first, the outermost layer or the superficial layer is skin. As you know, skin of the scalp is thick and it has numerous hairs. Okay, and it has numerous hair. Wherever the hair structure or the hair follicle is present, you are very much clear that their sebaceous glands or sweat glands, they both are present. They both are present. Next is superficial layer. Next is superficial layer. So this one is the skin with hair, what we have already discussed. Second, we are discussing superficial fascia. This one is a superficial fascia. Okay, this is the superficial fascia. This is the superficial fascia, which is made up of dense fibrous connective tissue. Which is made up of dense fibrous connective tissue. Okay, this is made up of dense fibrous connective tissue, and this layer, as we can see, this layer is present between skin and epicranial aponeurosis. This is present between skin and epicranial aponeurosis. So it is firmly adherent to both these layers. Okay, and in this layer there is a fibrous septa which is present. There is a fibrous septa which is present like this. Numerous fibrous septas which are present. Okay, numerous fibrous septas which are present, which contain fats. Which contain fat. Now in this septa, you can see blood vessels are present and nerves are present in this layer. Okay. If there is a cut or these blood vessels are torn, these blood vessels bleed very much. They bleed profusely. They bleed profusely because they are not able to retract themselves, since fibrous septa is present around them. Okay, if you are pressing this blood vessel against the underlying bone, आपने ऐसे ऊपर से हाथ लगा के दबाया, you are pressing it against the skull, then immediately the bleeding will stop. Okay, and this helps in stopping the bleeding. So superficial fascia, this is made up of dense fibrous connective tissue. It is having fibrous septa which makes numerous pockets, and these pockets contain fat. And in this it is having blood vessel and nerves. If there is any injury to this blood vessel, they bleed profusely. See, this diagram is very, very important, and it is mandatory that this diagram should be present in your answer. So this is the first mandatory diagram which should be there in your answer. Next, we have discussed S, that is the skin. We have discussed C, that is connective tissue. Now we are moving on to the letter A, which we call it as aponeurosis. Another name is epicranial aponeurosis, or another name is Galea aponeurotica. Galea means helmet, the safety thing, Galea aponeurotica, or it is also called as deep fascia. It is also called as deep fascia. Okay, it is formed by occipitofrontalis muscle. It is formed by occipitofrontalis muscle, as the name is suggesting. Occipitofrontalis. Frontalis, these are the two bellies of frontalis muscle. You can see the two belly of frontalis muscle. Okay, these bellies, they are attached onto the skin and superficial layer anteriorly. Okay, they have no bony attachment. They have no bony attachment. This is the most important line, that anteriorly it does not have any bony attachment. Okay, and posteriorly on the occipital region we can see two bellies of occipital muscle, occipital bellies. Okay, and these are attached onto the lateral 2/3 of the highest nuchal line. They are attached onto the lateral 2/3 of the highest nuchal line. So this aponeurosis is formed by occipitofrontalis muscle, and along with that aponeurosis. and this muscle, this is having a motor nerve supply. This muscle is having a motor nerve supply by facial nerve. Now next we are moving on to the fourth layer, loose areolar connective tissue. This fourth layer is loose areolar connective tissue, and this is the dangerous layer of scalp. This is the dangerous layer of scalp. These are emissary veins. Okay, these are emissary veins. This is sinus, intracranial venous sinuses, and these are the venous system or the veins which are present on the external part. So this is connecting the second layer of a scalp. This is connecting the second layer of a scalp with intracranial venous sinuses. Okay, these are connecting from second layer of a scalp to intracranial dural venous sinuses. If any infection occurs, see this upper three layers, SCAL, SCA, that is skin, C is connective tissue, and A is aponeurosis. These three layers are adhered to each other very much. Okay, and pericranium, this is attached onto the skull bone. So this layer, this is the only layer which is loosely attached. Okay, and this provides a natural cleavage for craniotomy. Also, if any blood or pus is accumulated in this region, okay, so these emissary veins can transmit outside infection to the interior part of the skull, that is in the brain. So that's why this is called as dangerous layer of scalp. Again we can see skin, connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar connective tissue, pericranium, and then we can see skull bone. Okay, this is skull bone. The center part is the suture, and the veins which are present in the skull bone, they are called as diploic veins. Okay, this is the layer of dura mater, meninges. Okay, it forms a fold. This is the fold formed by dura mater. Here this is superior sagittal sinus, and this one is brain. This is brain. These are the three layers which we are able to see. Okay, dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. And these are emissary veins which are connecting the second layer of the scalp to the superior sagittal sinus. If there is any infection in this fourth layer, this is transmitted inside to the skull. Now periosteum, this is the last or the innermost layer, that is the fifth layer of the scalp. This is formed by periosteum of bone of vault of skull. Okay, the outermost layer of the skull bone that forms pericranium, and it is firmly attached to the skull bone. It is firmly attached to the skull bone. Now these are nothing but the dissected layer. S is for skin, C is for connective tissue or superficial fascia, and A is aponeurosis. These three layers, they are firmly adherent to each other, and they are also called as surgical layers. They are also called as surgical layers. Okay, wherever you are going to start with the dissection of a scalp, these three layers, they are removed together. They cannot be separated. Okay, and below that you have this one. This is the loose areolar tissue. This will be adherent to the pericranium which is present below. This one is pericranium. Okay, so this is the this is the way you're going to see the dissection. These three layers will be combined, the surgical layers, and this loose areolar connective tissue will be attached to pericranium. By the end of this lecture, you should be clear that scalp is having 5 layers. Is that clear to all of you? Now in the next lecture, we are going to see the applied anatomy, blood supply and nerve supply. Hope the class was clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask me or you can call me up for that. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Stay safe, stay healthy and stay at home.